I get my stuff done. And, people are able to help me somehow. But one thing my mother always told me is go where there's real love for you. So that's one principle I've always done. Two, I've always believed in my faith, where every morning I pray. I may have gone through a cycle where I was confused about praying and all this Christianity, but I can say where I am now, I've found my way, where I'm working on my spirituality to kind of guide me, build me, and, kind of make me courageous as I continue to navigate this rough world, I can say.
Thank you for that submission, Motomoto, and of course, Denise, earlier on that one, in sharing the plight of feeling alone in a crowd. And I know, ladies and gentlemen, you're just tuning in to the show. If you're listening into this one, this is Home Run with PP, happens here each and every weekday from 4 p.m. all the way to 9 p.m. East African time. Let me just do that on the jingle time. Let's go.
You are listening to Home Run with Pippi. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Kama dawa kama kesi, tunakuanga hapa hivi kila Monday mpaka Friday kwenye Home Run with PP. Of course, we have a new baby in the air that will be coming out, of course, every Saturday. The team has now grown. We have DK Gift, and of course, Jay Shiko is not feeling well, guys. But the team of DK Gift and Jay Shiko will be taking up Saturday night, Palevi, from 8 p.m. all the way to midnight. May get here. 8 p.m. all the way to midnight. You don't want to miss that show. It's called Home Run Extra, hosted by DK Gift and Jay Shiko. I'll be playing you the jingle in a minute. I'm actually trying to get to it just on time. But yes, I hope you guys are doing amazing on your side. Listen to this.
You are tuned in to Home Run Extra.
The jingles are in. Mi hadi nataka nihamie Home Run Extra, guys.
This is Home Run Extra, Saturdays 8 p.m. to midnight, hosted by DK Gift and Jay Shiku.
Yes. And all this is happening courtesy of you guys. I'm trying to build up now on my portfolio. Guys were telling me, people, you need to you start a YouTube channel. Of course, we have a YouTube channel. Have you followed Home Run with PP on YouTube? Tomorrow, I will have part 1 of the interview that we have so much been waiting for live. Pale Makofi. The whole interview will be going live tomorrow, of course, a whole 2-hour interview on YouTube. You guys gotta have to watch that one. It's an amazing one, of course. And the final part of maybe announcements, kabla niende kusalimia Bwana DK, ni kwamba Home Run with PP is also grown and supported by you, the listeners. And of course, as we are growing into this month of September, I've also planned a bigger set here so that I can have more people to come over. And I spoke to my fundi yesterday, and he said he's working on the table that I've already made sure that it'll be coming here by the end of the week. So yeah, it's a good positive progress on my side. Yeah, tunaenda tu pole pole hivyo. At the end of it all, maybe tutakuwa tumejenga studio yetu poa in a way that people can now come over and sit down with me and talk. But already we are doing that live on the Journey series. So thank you so much kwa kila mtu ambaye anaamini yake tunafanya. Of course, our show is supported by you, the listener. There's a tip jar line there, 0721 948 229. That is the M-Pesa line to support the show. Asanteni sana kwa kufika hapa hivi. And of course, today's conversation is a very serious one. As I say, on Home Run PP Thursdays are all about mental health and body wellness. Yeah, so that is what we call Wellness Thursdays. So here on Wellness Thursdays, we talk about things that affect us, our mental health, and of course our bodies. And today, September, is World Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month. As you know, guys, as I started off on Spaces before I started Home Run with PP, I had talked to PP, and it is still running on WhatsApp where I let people talk about what is eating them, and we chat. It's a peer-to-peer kind of conversation. I really refused to make it a trending thing because people started accusing me of texting myself. So, but Suicide is something that has affected me near and dear. Last year, I lost a friend who was actually one of us here on X to suicide. So it's something that has left me with so many questions. If we could have done something better, and the worst part is, I think during that final part of that time, we tried to reach out and talk about the same thing, because he knew I was a mental health advocate, but I couldn't come out on time. I beat myself down. Then we had that conversation with guys, and yeah, I stopped beating myself down, because you can't beat yourself down over people's choices. But what you can do is you can listen to their stories, you can reach out to your friends, you can stop judging them, and many more other things that we are going to be learning today. Of course, today's topic is all about focusing on, do you how how often do you get checked on? Do you get your parents to check on you, or do you get your friends to check on you? Ama wewe ni lone wolf. I have had already the Kenyans and the Africans who are in the diaspora who are already saying, oh, in this place people don't like you and all that. Is that the mentality we have against each other? We've had that conversation of hating each other across the borders a lot of times. Is that the reason why people die by suicide, feeling alone? So yeah, joining in the conversation, of course, request the microphone so that we can avoid it having to be a podcast between me and DK and of course Moto. I'm seeing Charlo is in the building. So thank you so much for tuning in. It's quite a hearty space. I'm going to tell you to just prepare yourself. No onions in the studio, please. So don't make me cry, but I'm ready for the tears as well, if you're ready. So DK, salimia sisi kwanza. Chencheze hii jingle. Nikukaribishe kama mgeni mheshimiwa. Allah, okay.
You are listening to Home Run with Pippi. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Mambo vipi DK?
Salama sana vipi vipi?
Niko poa, how are you holding up, bro?
I'm doing well. It's it's interesting we're into this conversation right now. But before I go there, let me first say a big thank you to you for the new jingles. It feels nice to hear your name called somewhere. It feels very nice to be part of something that I believe is going to be really, really big. Of course, we have a journey to go and we have a lot to do. You've talked about some of the things you're planning, and there's a lot we have to do on the back. Personally, I'm really focused on also trying to build the home run community that we currently have on your handle and my handle as well. But it feels good. It feels really good to be a part of something that is going to be big. So thank you so much for allowing me to be hosting that with Jeshiko on Saturday. So kwa wale wote wamesikia, please 8 p.m. to 12 p.m. To actually run 8 to 11, but of course our conversations get very nice and we find ourselves until midnight. So kujeni, karibieni sana, you'll be most welcome. Now, Pipi, for this conversation for today, just like you said yourself, for me it's also very near and dear. One, for I know at least two persons directly that have been affected by suicide cases where they both lost very close family friend and family member. I also know it very closely because personally I am a suicide survivor, if I could call myself that. And it's something I'll talk about it sometime later. If you, I'm sure you give me the chance to, maybe I'll give my story a bit later on how I survived that, how I found myself there, and how I was able to get out of it. But the first thing I can say is that there is very different aspects to how you can end up to the place ya feel that helpless. Motomoto I think ndiye nimeingia akiongelea her own point of view as far as stuff like maybe antidepressants for people who are going through therapy and everything, and how she feels it may or may not work. There are also people that also feel the aspect of having friends and family around you sometimes could or could not work. In the African society, one of the things that mimi nimeona ile kubwa sana is, number one, as men, it is not norm to speak up. It is not norm to speak when you have a challenge, when you have a problem, whether it is with a brother, a friend, a cousin. It is absolutely not norm. When it comes to the side of women, even though they are a bit more expressive, one of the biggest challenges that I've seen is sometimes envy slash jealousy slash witch hunting, where you will find yourself trying to open up to a certain group of ladies. And I'm not saying it's not, or it's all the time. I'm just saying it's a bit more frequent than not. You're trying to either open up to a friend, a cousin, and before you know it, your story has now become an example that they're giving in their next book club discussion they're having with other girls. And again, I repeat, I'm not saying it's always that way. But more often than not, most of the people here can attest that it now becomes a very thin line between trying to figure out for women, who do I trust, who I don't trust. And for men, I die with my problems before I even tell them to anybody. Myself, I found myself in that category of dying with my problems, trying to die with my problems before telling them out to anybody. And it can be such a scary place to be. So for the last 10 years, because I went through my worst depression phase was between the age of 28 and 30. So over the last 5 years, though I'm still trying to work on myself every other day, mentally speaking, and just being very cognizant about myself, I've been blessed to at least have some people who are checking, um, whether it is family or whether it is friends. But I have grown what I'd call a network that helps me. Then therapy worked for me, and I'll tell that in my story. Antidepressants, in their own way, Motomoto surprisingly really worked for me. When I went through this in 2019, in fact, I dare say, even though for them at some point, I don't know. For me, they worked for me to a certain degree, but I coupled it up with a lot of therapy. I coupled it up with a lot of love, a lot of just being circled by a lot of care and love from my family, from my friends, those that actually were able to come through. So I think that's the first thing I'll say right now, PP. This one is a bit hard for me. So I will want to be sat there to be seated down as I give my story. So let me allow Charlo, Joely to also share their points, and then at some point I'll give my own story of how what I went through, how it was, and how it has been now um, since then. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, DK. And I'm sorry for throwing you directly into the water, but that is what you sign up to when you become a show host of such a space. But welcome to the show, bro. And I'll, of course, get you back on onto the space right after the junction so you can talk to us. Joy Lee, habari yako?
Peter, I love how your brand is growing. I'm so proud of you. I'm really
Mungu huyu na
excited with what.
nyinyi.
I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to how the new growth, and I'm wishing you all the best. You know me, Pivita. I've always been a champion for mental health awareness, and we need to destigmatize. We need to remove the stigma that surrounds, mental health. Um, the topic around mental health, in terms of people who have who are not okay, who need help, who need resources. I mean, it's even crazy how even now people can shame you for needing or even saying that I go for therapy. I don't know. It feels like a dirty secret. You know, when you say you're going for therapy, you're given some crazy look. Yeah, someone is looking at you crazy, thinking, okay, maybe you're mad. Maybe you're soft. You're what? You're what? So what I have in terms of personally for me, I do have a few friends who do check in on me, not like on a regular basis, but once in a while we like ping each other, ask them where they're at their life, um, you know, speak about it, set up a meetup, yes, have a conversations about the things which we are going through, what we're experiencing, and everything. But for me, as much as these friends have been so wonderful and they've tried so much to be accommodative and everything, I noticed some things could not be achieved because one, they are not professionally skilled to handle the therapy per se, and there are things that might change the dynamic of the friendship because, again, like I said, they're not equipped, right? So I started seeing the benefit of therapy from last year. Like, I knew it was beneficial, but personal experience of its benefits, that was last year. There are some challenges I was experiencing, and I noticed that it was weighing so heavily on my friends that I felt like it was really not fair for me to burden them with that moment, with whatever I was going through. And I was able to connect to a therapist who, like, we've walked that journey with this therapist, and it's been wonderful. I will admit that I speak from a point of privilege because the cost of therapy is not easy. I try to save up for it, and then I go. There are those I do know there there are therapy like sessions that can be done for free. There are centers that do that, and I want us to really highlight them a lot. In terms of do I know people? Yes. People who have unalived themselves, yes. I believe I told you that I buried a niece last year. It was very heartbreaking for the entire family because this just came from left field. Like, this girl had just gotten into medical school. Things were looking up, things were bright. She was also trying to pursue a scholarship to do her medical studies in Germany, and she had actually gotten it. So she was in that process of the visa processing. So it really threw me for a loop completely, and it was devastating. Then sometime before that, I have a friend who was also a former colleague who also passed on, and it's been very heavy for me, just experiencing those losses. And yeah, it's difficult. The society we live in, like, even with me having experiencing therapy, my own family doesn't understand. They think, oh, you're just overthinking your issues. You just need to go to church, pray, fast. Uh, you just need to sleep on it. Or just, I don't know. The remedies that I've received are many and plenty. And, for them, it's foreign. They feel like, and it's still a perception that a lot of Africans have, that this is a white man's problem. You know, with internet now, everybody's talking about mental health, and everyone is talking about therapy, and everyone, like, this isn't vitu za wazungu, but we are still burying people. We're still burying young people, old people. So I don't know if they're going to say death is also a white man's thing, because we are still burying people. The boy who had an issue with his father and he decided to off himself with the father's gun. Was that a white death? Is it white? how he killed himself or why the reason he killed himself or it doesn't make sense. So we need to keep championing the mental health awareness, keep speaking on interventions which are affordable or even free for people. I always try to push that information out. And again, I will try and see if I can find if not my old tweets, I'll see if I can post on the Jumbotron the intervention tools that are there that are available and probably even pro bono for people. And I want to acknowledge that this is not a gender specific issue. Men and women are going through a lot. And it was very evident during COVID. Very evident during COVID. People have used their jobs, their businesses, their hobbies to bury their issues. COVID prevented people to indulge in their hobbies, their jobs, their being busy. They had lots of time to mentally reflect on their problems, and a lot of people didn't make it out alive because they never dealt with it. So, yeah, we are here for this. I'm always behind you, Pivita, on this journey.
Thank you so much, Joy Lee, for that. And of course, everybody who is also behind supporting us on this. I know this topic is very heavy. Yeah. But kuna kitu moja mimi inanigusanga sana. Kila time nikiona mtu ameandika suicide note kwa timeline, it really triggers me a lot. Sijui kama nyinyi touch the same, but it touches me. So yeah, I saw one of my followers, nimewaimwona hapa akisikiza, hata I think I follow him back. Alipost hivyo and then he was, he disappeared. And then somebody just texted that amempata and he was not in a good shape. So it has really impacted me a lot. I've been thinking, how bad can this thing get that you don't even see your people just going? And you even ask yourself, maybe this person saw. Like maybe this person sent me a message and I didn't see. So yeah, that is something that has really touched me, and I just wanted to point out. Kama uko na kitu yenye inakuuma, nawambianga kwamba mimi kitu yenye siwezi saidiana nayo ni shida ya pesa, kwa sababu hata mimi niko na shida ya pesa, unaona. But kitu tunaweza saidiana ni skill, listening ear. And that is the essence of checking in, listening ear. Like sometimes unakuanga na stress, I just need someone to just listen in to you. Moto, I see your hand is up. Thanks so much, Jolie, for that submission, and also thank you for sharing your story. Moto.
Yeah, I'm glad you started talking about the solutions, and that listening here is a very important thing, because many a times when you let it out, then it makes a difference. One thing I know, not crying also, it has a negative effect on us. I know many a times people try to be strong, where you just keep going and going, but people don't realize that also it converts into trauma, where you're carrying trauma in your body and you don't realize. And then when things start falling apart, your body just breaks down. So little things, for instance, I'll give a typical example. If you have lost a parent, one parent, you'll find that whoever was very close to that parent is the one who might be impacted, more compared to the rest. And many a times when you see in a family where people say it goes in three, you'll find that a lot of arrows will be thrown at the person who was closer to the parent. And that person may end up, of course, going into depression, and at some point they'll have to get themselves out of that dip. Now, getting yourself out of that dip is always a challenge, because it's either you will get out alive or you will not make it out of the dip, because it reaches a point in life where you start thinking about, your life and your whole journey, and I really don't know how to explain that part. Forgive me if I may not explain it well. But when you Google and read about a hero's journey, you'll understand like the stages of someone as they undergo through the journey of purpose. And your journey of purpose always starts when you lose a parent or something significant happens in your life. And at that point, you indulge in stuff. So, not to confuse you guys, but in terms of solutions, me, I've always believed in exercise, of course, talking to people or talking to someone who you find can keep your stories, confidential. Going to a therapist is very good, by the way. I've seen a therapist personally a long time ago when I went through a divorce and I was working these corporate jobs, driving me crazy. I had to see a therapist at some point to kind of bring myself back to, where I'm supposed to be. So it's good to see a therapist. Medications, when I was given medications, I didn't take them. I'll tell you, I threw them, but I didn't tell my doctor I wasn't taking them. I just didn't believe in them because somebody had told me they can make you addictive, da da da. So I was just like, no, no, no. I just need this break so that I can stay off work and find myself together as a single mom. So, for us here in America, we have different benefits that you can take advantage of to take time off work and stuff like that. We call it FMLA, where now you go to your therapist, you tell them, hey, my stress is too much, I need a break or something, and that's when you kind of take time off. It could be up to 3 months, but I did take advantage of those little benefits that are there so that I can take a break because it can be a rat race. When things become overwhelming, that's when you don't think. But for me, I always say that having that mindset is key. And to have that mindset, you have to exercise, you have to eat well, and then now you have to start having self-care practices where in the morning, based on your spirituality, you have to pray to guard yourself because there's evil stuff going on out here. We cannot lie to ourselves that, things do not happen in the spiritual realm. So those are the little practices that I've been doing for myself because I know when you don't pray, just know that the enemy is waiting to steal your gift. And your gift is your purpose. And I think, DK Gift having told us what his story is, all those arrows that were thrown at him, probably the enemy did not want him to reach to his final destination of purpose because he knew how many people DK was going to impact in the world. So anytime you find that so many arrows are being thrown at you, it means there's something about you that is so powerful that the dark forces do not want you to achieve in life. And that should motivate you to really tap into your skills and push yourself one day, one single task at a time. It might be hard, but I can always say we are all in this journey where we can move together and achieve what we want. Nimesema mengi, I feel like I'm a preacher. Damn. Please forgive me. Can you guys hear? Pipita, are you there?
Yes. Yeah, I
Oh,
can hear you. Yeah.
I'll give it back to you. But I had to share that. There's a lot of things that I've learned. For me, I've never felt like committing suicide. I always say, I love myself, but then you know what? I cannot blame those who have committed suicide either because when you're in that stage of the dark night of the soul, and if you read about a hero's journey is when you'll understand, it's unknown territories where you're fighting demons that you never even knew about. And when I say demons, it's like the battle is on the mind. So it's a tricky place you are in that for me, I've always felt you need some spiritual guidance. And that's just how I found myself in a Bible study group where I learned the tricks of the enemy. So when you know the tricks of the enemy and you know how he manipulates our minds to start thinking negative things, then you reverse it immediately. You kind of catch it. Because many a times, hizo bad thinking zikianza kukuja kwa mind yako, you can be overtaken by events very easily. But if you identify how the enemy manipulates our mind, then you'll catch it immediately and take a step back. So I'm very conscious about what I think. When I start feeling, oh, business is slow, I stop. I take a time out and return myself back to where I'm supposed to be, remembering, hey, that's the voice of the enemy, because you have two voices, the voice of the enemy and the positive voice, which is that little voice of God, which is your instinct and your consciousness. So just sharing how I've navigated, life and my journey. I'll give it back to you, Pipita.
Thank
Or
you. Thank
DK
you
wanted to
for
say
for.
something.
I guess I was trying to jump in, but DK, do you have something to share to us?
So I was actually just about to hold the mic for you by the time you're back. So please go on.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I know today's space does not require a lot of people. People are not going to come out in numbers because it's quite a personal share conversation. But I'm glad that you're here with me, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I do not take it for granted. I see Marabu Stocks is here with us in World Major. Marabu, mambo vipi?
Wagwan, Pipi.
Jambo.
I'm good. How are you doing, man? Blessings. Are you good?
I am good, brother.
Yeah, man. Jambo.
Niko poa. Talk to me. What? Welcome to the space and talk to me about what you know about this topic.
So I just seen, I heard you say September is the Suicide Awareness Month, and I just saw that it is the 10th of September that we are going to be celebrating or commemorating suicide awareness. So as for me, I'm a leader within the Rastafarian community. So I usually act as a counselor, act as a role model for my people most of the time. And you find that our mental awareness is one of the most important things that you really have to converse yourself with. So mentally, let me say this, that first of all, the spiritualism of a person is really very important when it comes to the well-being of the body, because the spirit affects the physical, and most of the times people overlook the spiritual side of humanity. And when you look at the mental issues, they can be caused by either three things. And we can have mental illness, which can be caused by disease, genetically passed down from generation to generation. We can have the use of drugs, amphetamines, cocaine, heroin. Do not put weed in that category. Weed is a herb used for meditation. So you can use it for drugs, can cause that. And we can also have mental health issues arising from our lifestyle. This is where you have stress and depression, where somebody has gone through trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, and stuff like that. So it's really very an African when we talk about mental illness, because in Africa, usually, and for men, when you used to say you're mentally ill, people tell you get used to it, you'll get over it. And it has only come about because of this education system and some of the things that we have gone through, such that we have now taken mental illness and mental health as something that we have to look at, because the community was losing a lot of people through suicide. And as I've seen from the statistics, they're saying that a quarter of the people are aged between 15 and 44. So you can see the demographics is that this affects mostly the young people, and it's usually because of that feeling that you are not achieving what you set out to achieve, because this is the most productive age, 15 to 44. So mostly these are people who probably had aspirations in life, probably had some goals in life, and they're seeing that I'm not achieving these goals, and that's when you find yourself depressed, stressed, and for lack of a better thing, when you fail to find what Motomoto is saying, when you fail to find that friend who is checking up on you, or people who seem to care about you, then you find yourself deserted. And that one, I think, leads to this position whereby you can seemingly look at taking your life as a best alternative. But when you look at mental illness and suicide, you find that most people also kill each other, because I heard you speak before the space of this athlete who was doused and burned by the husband. You find that most people who also commit these crimes of passion, like murder, are also susceptible to suicidal thoughts. So you'll find that mostly most people who kill other people out of anguish or out of a crime of passion will eventually take their own lives. So it is a spring from the suicidal nature that they say, before I take my own life, let me also take somebody's life, because I don't want to be the only loser. But when you analyze strategically or critically, is that mankind, as technology progresses and as we develop, we tend to pull away from each other, and we have this individualistic thing coming up, either because of technology. We spend too much time on our phones or on our computer screens, and we don't take time to do what people used to do in the past, meet face to face and talk to each other. So because of this seclusion, this bubble that is built because of technology, you find that you have nobody to encourage you or to give you advice on what you're going through. So also technology has impacted so much on the mental well-being of a person, because, for example, you can watch a horror movie, and this horror movie has people killing each other. It dampens your humanity on taking away of life. So technology has also become a major part, a major issue for some of us who are looking deeply into these mental issues and suicidal nature of human beings. Because when you're used to seeing people taking away life, then you become dehumanized. You tend to now get used to it, and when it comes to you doing it, you don't look at it as something big that you're doing. So for me, as a leader within the Rastafari faith, the first thing that I usually say is spiritualism. Know yourself, anchor yourself to a certain form of higher connection, the metaphysical world. It doesn't have to be Christianity or Islam or Buddhism or any kind of religion. No, spiritualism, that you recognize that you are part of a bigger, a more superior thing. You're not just a vessel carrying blood and bone, but you're part of something bigger. And once you connect yourself to a spiritual ideology or a spiritual position, then you find that nothing can come in your life that can give you enough challenges for you to feel that you cannot sustain it or you cannot overcome it. And everything always works out when you look at it from a spiritual point of view, because spiritually we always know that we are greater than what we are today, and tomorrow is going to be a better day. Once you have that ideology in your mind, once you have that drive, you will never find yourself feeling down or feeling low because friends don't want to talk to you, or because you lost 1,000,000 shillings yesterday. You always look for tomorrow because you are anchored on something real and something that gives hope for tomorrow. So basically, as we mark this month of suicide awareness, which also has to be coupled up with mental illness and mental health, we also have to be aware that spiritualism is very important. And as a Rasta, I put it on to food that you eat, the words that you pronounce every day, the music that you listen to, the people you associate with, and the amount of energy that you have in your body. Which, when I talk about the yin yang, the chi, exercise, have your body physically able to sustain disease, because sometimes disease like syphilis and all these other bad diseases can come and also cause this mental illness and mental health issues. So once you're healthy physically and spiritually, I feel that you can overcome anything that can come towards you, and nothing that is formed against you will prosper. Thank you very much for the time, Peter. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much for sharing to us. I see my guy one major is dropping out of the space, man. Ish, Jamaneni. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Home Run with PP. And I want to just say this. Suicide is a very heavy topic, and I understand. And thank you so much, Marabu Stock, for also coming out as a community leader in the field of mental health advocacy, because it is a field that is relatively very lonely. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but it's a kind of lonely field because you find yourself sometimes just talking about it and people not really catching up on it, or you speak about it and you feel like maybe I'm not speaking enough of it, so you get a lot of questions to ask yourself. But I'm glad that we have also mental health advocates like me here on the space talking to us. Thank you so much, Marabu Stocks, on that. We have about 15 minutes, 19 minutes to the top of the hour. The mic is still open for you guys to join in and talk to us. Msio Gope. Yeah, I see. Motomoto said, the bigger the arrows, the bigger the purpose, and the stronger you become. Phantom Noir is saying, contrary to your opinion, mimi na staki listening here. Quick fix, leta pesa. But kuna watu wenye wao wanasemanga shida zao zote zinasolviwa na pesa. Yeah? You guys, kwani nyinyi mnakuanga aje? Like wewe shida zako zote zinasolviwa tu na do. You guys, mtaja kunimaliza hapa mjini. Yeah, yani nyinyi, your purpose is money na. If na money there, na money happen. Na money there, na money happen, yeah? Lakini yenyewe kweli hivi, kama mimi sahii shida yangu mingi sahii ni pesa, unaona? Ingekuwa tu si pesa, singekuwa Spaces. Kwa nini nakaa chini 5 pm kuhost wase mpaka 9 pm? Singekuwa mahali tu hivi kwa beach, naona sunset, bahari ikirudi, madafu mkononi, nikikula pweza, you know. But look at me, pesa hiyo, the root of all evil bwana is money. Na ndo hii inatupata hapa sasa. And actually when you look at many people talking about their problems, you'll discover that it is always money related. Hata mimi naonanga kama shida zangu nusu saa hii zinaweza solve, yani in no time, just by yani tu kwa kusema tu eti shika hii 500 ni shida inaisha. So ni vizuri pia ujue uko na shida aina gani. Alafu pia kuna issue moja inatupata sahii, you know, like sahii venye tumefika sahii, the life is very hard. Hata tuwezi danganyana, life is very T for tough, T for ndick nini. T for ndick nini. Yeah? But sasa, will we blame each other kwa story ya it's T for tough, nini. We have to also rise up and do something. And also when your friends are talking to you, listen. Tusikize marafiki zetu. Unajua saa zingine, and I've noted, I even have that behavior. Even when you listen, I'm trying to listen to an interview I was doing here, and I noticed, wait, hata really konako katabia, where when somebody is telling you their story, you're waiting for where to jump in. Yeah, nakwambia DK mazee jona pitia shida, hata mimi bro. Yeah. Mazee bro, last week nilifungiwa nyumba. Mazee hata mimi unajua 2024 nilifungiwanga nyumba Januari bro, hata uwezi amini. Mazee jo unajua hata nilitaka kujua. Mazee sasa ukifika hapo kwa kujua, mazee wewe ni weak man. Mimi unajua nilifanywa hizo mashida. Wewe nilifanya nini? At the end of it all, you have not had anything they have told you. Not a word.
I call it listening to respond, not listening to understand.
Na hiyo kitu ina affect mpaka relationships. Achana hata story tu zetu za mental health. Hata relationships. Most of our relationships don't work because most of our partners, when we are having arguments or when we are talking, they are not listening to answer. Acha nisikie nikwambie, to respond, or skill to understand. They are listening to just be the next speaker. And that is one thing I even noticed even during these Mandamano spaces. You get, like, people are not looking to listen to understand. They're looking for nitaingilia wapi hata mimi wanisikie mimi ni mkali. So unapata I could do, there was the time we did 8 hours spaces and it would start with Wazee Pipi Joe, I'm very angry. And then somebody else will come, Pipi Joe, mi nimekasirika. Manze Joe, Pipi Joe. So at the end of it all, they've just said the same thing in various languages. Yeah. So maybe we should also, as we are talking about this suicide awareness and prevention month, we should also make it aware to each other the importance of, actively listening. And the word is actively listening. Umesikia vile mimi najua kizungu, guys. Actively listening ni kusikiza ukionyesha kwamba uko interested kwa simu ama face to face. Usikuwe mtu amekuja kukwambia story yake alafu wewe uko kwa WhatsApp unacheka nudes. Shika hii. Ward Major, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Have you been, man?
I've been great, bro. Pushing and pushing and pushing.
Yo, like regarding this topic, man. I'll share a bit because I'm not that person. Yeah. So like this week I took some time off from work because I'm fighting my own demons. I'm the guy who never speaks. Yeah, I'll sound good. I'll be happy, but yeah, deep down I'm fighting my own shit. Mimi sikufunzwa ati when you're fighting something you need to speak about it. Since I was born, like I've been taught that if you're going through something as a man, you need to just, I don't know, just face it, agree with it, and just, I don't know, how you deal with it, that's your problem, right? I'm in a country whereby I'm alone. Yeah, so sometimes you go through things, you're like, wow, I'm in this space right now. What to do? And sometimes you have nobody to talk, like no one. You have nothing. I will never go to a psychiatrist. I feel like that is, I don't know. For me, like I feel like it's something that it's too personal to share with somebody you don't know about shit. I'd rather call you or somebody else, which I'll never, of course, but I will never share with a psychiatrist about my fucking life. That's just me. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. But I'm good. I'm fighting my stuff and I'm surviving. But I'm good. Yeah, man.
Bro,
I have a
I'm
question.
hearing you. Yeah, who's that?
I have a question
Mhm.
to the guy who was talking. So how do you manage to maneuver or navigate your challenges, being that you don't share them with anyone? Like what's your outlet?
Let me tell you something very simple. It's alcohol. That's how I survive. Like a few drinks and I'm back to
Hey.
normal. Yeah, like I'm being honest with you. If I lie to you about so many things now, like I drink a few 1, 2, 3 days. Actually, so like I took days off this week because on Monday I have to be back. So like I went to the doctor, lied about me being sick. I was given sick leaves, and I know. So like now I'm kind of okay. So tomorrow I'm gonna be fine. I just drink and then like like I don't know why, but for me it works. A bit of alcohol, eating without anybody, and I'm back to normal. Yeah,
Can I say something?
yeah. Tell me,
Oh,
talk
sure,
to me.
go ahead.
Yeah, I think the way you take alcohol and you say a bit, it can easily get worse. And for me, I know, alcohol, of course, we all know alcohol messes up with our bodies. And in the long run, you know where it's going to take us if it's in excessive. So I'm just thinking, maybe you should find a different way. And I know you're an adult, you have free will, but I think alcohol has really messed many of us. You'll find in every family there's always someone who's taking excessive alcohol due to something. So I personally think maybe there should be a way that maybe you can try to see if you can find a better way to kind of release whatever is inside. And I'm not a professional therapist, but I'm just saying, knowing the effects of what alcohol can do to us in terms of addiction. Maybe Marabu can tell us something.
May I say something too?
Yes.
Moto Kitchen.
Yeah, I just like you, the last speaker that I spoke, I too, I'm not a professional, and I respect, just like she said, being as an adult, at the end of the day, some of the decisions would have to go to you. But for me, I will talk of experience where I grew up in a house, and I only came to know this when I was of age. But I grew up in a house that had a father that turned to alcohol to help him deal with what I came later to know were episodes of depression, episodes of low self-esteem, that he had gone through since he was in his 20s. And in his early years, in his 20s and in his 30s, because he told me this, I think the last week before him passing, and please note, his passing is not directly to the alcohol, it's something different. I'll talk about it in the story. But when my dad was passing is when I got to know some very deep things that I think even my mom, some of them doesn't know, of what he was going through as a man by himself. And he admitted to me, at that time when we were talking, one of the things he admitted to me was him turning to alcohol. And it was a very good place for him. Almost like the way you just said it, where, just kidogo here, kidogo there would help him find his sleep, find his footing. Sometimes he's feeling off kidogo, but, with a couple of beers, he goes back. Sometimes for him, even being in the circle of those people in those bars, hanging out, for him, it worked in that sense as well. But sooner rather than later, it caught up to him. One, with health. Two, with his family. And especially with his marriage, cost him a lot as far as his marriage was concerned. By the time he was trying to consolidate it or to reconcile it, it was a little too gone. Three, family in terms of the children, his relation with us, and four, his many of a company and friends that he had that seemingly, if he stayed on with them, and those that really tried to be with him, but he turned to the alcohol side and they couldn't keep up with the guy that he was turning into slowly. They moved on and he lost all those people. So I'm not trying to scare you with all that, but for me, nimeona first hand mtu akienda kwa pombe na ikasaidia for a while until when it didn't help anymore. And after having drunk since 1973 to 1998, his life from 1998 to 2014 was never the same again. And the biggest chunk of it was because of the alcohol. So I would say, like the last speaker, I'm going to think of certain ways, and maybe as we hear your story, maybe we will be able to think of other ways that you can channel out and try. But there are other so many things. I know different things work for different people. In just a few, I'm going to share on a photo on the comment section what has worked for me. One of the things that has worked for me that I picked up as a hobby just because I love it. And literally right now as we speak is what I'm doing because I'm going through a phase for the last 1 month. So please try look for something else. Please. That's all I can ask.
Okay, DK. So I think I tried working out, gym, venting. I think like for me, like it worked for a few, I don't know, a few months. It was working, but actually it was really working. Just working out, going to the gym used to work. But there's a point at which I was like, you know what, it's not working anymore. Yeah, I'm at a point whereby, by the way, like I'm not young, also by the way, I'm 36 this month. I'm turning 36 this year. I don't know what to say, man. Like,
May I ask you something?
yeah, sure.
What what made you feel like at the time when you got to a point and felt working out didn't work? Eh? Let me ask two questions. One, what led you there? Was it something someone told you? Was it something that came to you or your research? And secondly, at the time when you felt like it wasn't working, what about it made you feel that it wasn't working for you anymore?
So, like, I would go to the gym, and then when I'm working out, I get even more angrier. I get more pissed off. I feel like I feel like my mind is exploding. So what I will do, I will just leave and I just go home. And the alcohol helps. 2, 3 shots of something of whiskey helps. Like, no, like I'm more calmer when I take my shots. When I'm in the gym carrying weights with my trainer, I'm like, you know what? Actually, I tell him, you know what? Nah, let me go home. Then when I'm home, I feel better. That's because because it's more peaceful. Like I don't have to vent to anybody. I just have to take 2, 3 shots, and I'm easy. I know that's weird, but bro, it works for me.
It's not weird. Trust me. Don't even say it's weird. It's not weird, and nobody should ever judge anybody for taking on alcohol at some point as to be what they're seeing as a solution. So it's not weird. Word. At least for me, it's not. Right? It's true that we would want you to find something else, but it's not weird. PP, I'm sorry we've turned this into a podcast. I'm really really sorry. I have to ask Ward another question. Why does venting let's not call it venting because I don't like calling venting. Venting is like you have problems and then you call somebody and you just there and just releasing them. I want to think about talking. So let me call it talking. So why have you always felt that talking just wouldn't work for you?
Okay,
And have you ever tried it that it didn't
okay,
work?
okay. So the kid, okay, like let me give history, right? So like when I was growing
Yes,
up,
please.
when I was growing up, when I was very young, I remember because like I'm in a family of seven kids, right? Um, I remember that time, like things used to happen, like they break things. So like my siblings break things, and then they blame me, and then me, I'm also here playing, and then when I get home, I'm being beaten for things I didn't do. So even if I speak, I'm still gonna be beaten up. So like it used to be a habit. So like I used to know that nobody will ever listen. So like I learned like nobody will ever listen to me because I would always been accused of something. Just because people are older than me, I learned that I'll always be the accused. You know what I mean? So like I've learned not to speak because I learned that nobody gives a hoot about what I go through. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that answers it very well.
Mm.
That answers it very well. PP, does that make sense when you hear it?
Yeah. For me, I'm hearing his personal share, and I'm really making a lot of sense. I see Ismail Luta has just joined and raised his hand. Listen to this.
You are listening to Home Run with Pippi. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
It's 1 minute to the top of the hour. Hey, 1 hour. It's 6 p.m. East African time. It's 6 p.m. East African
You
time.
made us laugh. Bro.
Ladies
It's
and
5 in
gentlemen.
Germany.
Yeah.
It's 5 in Frankfurt.
All right. It's 6 p.m. East African time. Thanks so much for tuning in to Home Run with People, ladies and gentlemen. Happens here each and every time, each and every weekday from 4 p.m. all the way to 9 p.m. with me, your host, MC Pipita. Of course, I have co host DK Gifted. Of course, Jeshiko is not here. But yes, today we are discussing a very important and dear story. That is the story of Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month. Ikiwa September is that month exactly. And I see Ismail Luta has joined us. I'd like to pick your brain a bit. I know there's something you'd want to share. And after that, we'll go to Alejandro. Home Run People is supported by you, the listener. Once Alejandro finishes, I'm going to tell my story. And then at 6:30, DK Gift takes over with his story. All right, Ismaili, talk to me. Unmute mic yako Ismail. Alkebulan anasema kwamba hata mimi huogopa kwenda kwa psychiatrist, naonaga ni kama watani drug waniekelee nimechizi, alafu dawa zinichizishe cha ukweli. Heri ni overeat,
Exactly.
alafu niende ku
Exactly.
oversleep. That is,
Exactly. It
and I
makes
was
sense.
saying that is the fear of many people. Phantom Noah anasema kwamba what major for you alcohol as a scapegoat for accountability rather than is it being a pleasure thing? Take control of it before it takes you down. Umesikia hiyo? Hiyo ni warning. Anasema kwamba for you alcohol is a scapegoat. That is Phantom Noir. For accountability rather than it being a pleasure thing. Take control of it before it takes you down. Yeah.
Listen, I know it's gonna kill me one day. I know it will.
Then why are you doing it then? Why overdoing it?
Yo, bro, it's my only escape. Listen, skiza, I have a girlfriend. Like there are things saini mnajua hata ya jui. Yes, I have a woman somewhere, and I can't even speak to her. I, I I don't know how to do that because for me najua, if you speak to a woman, you're very vulnerable. You open up, you become weak. Bro, I was born in a different era. I was taught different things. Yeah. So me, I'm doing what I can.
People imagine, gosh, Ward, please, I beg you, please just make sure you stay here until 6:30.
All right.
I want you to hear my story. All right, so make sure you stay here.
What usiende popote, umesema uko off. Usiseme sijui eti huyo boss amenipigia simu,
No,
tunakumark.
Yo, bro, niko hapa,
Yeah.
simu ina
Chill.
charge. Niko hapa, simu ina charge tukiongea. Unaget?
Alright,
man.
cool.
Easy.
Let's go to the one and only Ismail. I think Ismail now is ready to talk to us. How are you doing, Ismail?
Pipi, niaje manze?
Poa sana, bro. You're audible now.
Manze, me today just wanted to listen. You know, there are those days that you just want to listen and reflect, but there's one thing which has been mentioned that as a concerned Kenyan citizen, I thought I should lend my voice to the discussion. And basically the issue of a coping mechanism. Currently in Kenya, we have a silent alcoholism as an epidemic. It's a silent epidemic because these people are functional, manze. Some are doctors. They'll spend their time drinking in the clubs. You come in the morning, you find them in theater and in the hospital working. Some are nurses. You'll find them drinking in the weekend and in the night. In the morning, you find them in the hospitals. Some are teachers. In short, since they are working and things are moving and the life is not being disrupted, so it usually doesn't kind of turn eyebrows. But manze, this is a silent epidemic, alcoholism, and we need to be cognizant of that. Number two, the problem with these things usually starts pole pole. Siju, you are stressed, you take 3, you are stressed. After a few months, manze, you are taking 4, 5. Then the next thing, manze, is just interfering with your functionality. So me understand, manze, sometimes kuna stress, especially, you know, personally I've been trying to understand alcohol, na ndio tu nimeanza ku understand because it took me a lot of time. The first thing was like, if you observe people drinking this thing, manze, they concoct their face, manze, it seems to be bitter, but they are there. So kumbe, these people, they don't like the taste. It could be bitter, but they like the effect, that relaxation effect, that numbness things that usually comes, that numb feeling, you don't worry now. We get it. Stories za kutoa manze, uko mali 7 p.m., 7 a.m. unaona wase wamekuja, kama ni kwa streets wanaingia kona moja mzee, mama na kibuyu hapo anawapatia na chapa. Then after 20 minutes unaona wanatoka wanaishia kuhustle. Hiyo story ya kutoa lock, now you get to understand. But mi kitu yenye ningeomba mzee, story na coping mechanism. We need to find some good coping mechanism, because kwanza kuna kitu inaitwa anxiety manze. Kama uko na shida alafu inasababisha anxiety, sijui kama mtu ashaisafa hapa anxiety. I think most of the people wamesafa anxiety, but kuna time anxiety inakuja mzee, it's on the roof bro. Unaishi kudoze, una doze mzee, kwanza usingize ikuji, so you keep on uko macho, you are just awake, alafu usingizi inakuja kidogo, so you have these short spans of sleeps, lakini sasa zinakuwa interrupted. Kama ulikuwa unalala 6 hours straight ama 5 hours straight, unapata unalala 1 hour, umeamka unapinduka, unalala tena unakaa macho 30-40 minutes, tena unapata ka usingizi kingine tena kana ku interrupted. Ukiamka asubuhi sasa umechoka kama punda. So hizi vitu zitakuwa there's sometimes in your life unapata unaanza kukuwa na highly anxiety. Maybe you are preparing for an exam, maybe you are waiting for a big interview yenye unajua hii lazima nitoboe ndio nitoke block. Sasa unaenda tu kwa fight mode mzee, adrenaline, mwili mzima ni adrenaline. So lazima kuna hizo vitu ziukua, na hasa ukiongea nao anasema they know it. Like in a hospital kuna daktari mzee anakunywa, so unaenda unamuuliza wewe ni aje manze, manze na unateite hii, so unajua ukiamka asubuhi kesho bado hizo problems zitakuwa. Anasema manze doc, najua at least kesho bado hizo shida ziko, but at least my concern is I need to get sleep today. Shida ni at least leo nipate usingizi. So now you understand from where they are coming. Kuna kitu iko kwa akili mse, it's denying him sleep, so at least anatafuta sleep ya leo. Stories za kesho na shida za kesho anajua bado zitakuwa, but at least leo alale. So mostly wanakwanga wanajua. Na the funny thing alcohol mzee, ni watu wengine intelligent sana. Yani there's nobody who's very intelligent bwana than alcoholics. Very intelligent people, sometimes very manipulative. So hizi vitu wenyewe wanajua, but so hii kitu mimi nigona as much as pia tunaweka ka science, pia tuingize itabidi tumeingiza ka spirituality pia. Kwa hizi vita sasa venye zinaenda, it's like kuna ka spiritual warfare pia yenye itabidi sasa tumejihami. And my concern with Kenya is that with physical wars you can see, you can fight them, but sometimes there's a spiritual component. Unajua dunia spirituality, you're oblivious of that world. Kuna forces zina kuaffect, lakini sasa wewe you're oblivious of them. Sasa you don't prepare, you don't pray, you don't have something to fight for you, a bigger thing. So that's the issue. That's why hapo utasikia, I know manze, I know this thing will kill me, I know it's bad, but bado msee ako stuck hapo. So inakuwa sasa knowledge sasa hapo of knowing is not empowering, because sasa knowledge should be power. Living is awareness. By you being aware of what affects you, it should give you some good chance to tackle them. So manze, as a Kenyan manze, we are drinking a lot. There's some silent epidemic of alcoholism. We need to learn and relearn things. Kuna vitu zilitokea when we were young, they were not very good thing. We need to kind of start renegotiating them. It will just be the family dynamics. It's a high time ukaina wase waambisikizeni. So to may grow up, this is how now you'll be dealing with me. We have to change this thing a bit. If the parent, the mother and the father, you will need to tell them, you need to come to a new consensus. You are no longer that young boy or that young girl mwenye walikuwa naoneonea. So I think we'll just need to deal with this thing, because at one point after tumekunywa, there usually an awakening point. Na hii awakening point itakuwa ni mtu ameshikwa na lala kwa cell bila mattress, inamshtua. Kuna mwingine it takes him to lose a job, alafu inamshtua. Kuna mwingine it takes accident kwa car, inamshtua. Kwa hapa tulikuwa na nasi mwingine manze, alikuwa anakimbia kutoka Mumias akienda Kakamega. Buda amefika Kakamega mzee, amechapa roundabout ya county mzee, gari imepinduka penye ilikuwa inatoka. Akisema semi hii nilikuwa nimeenda. So it took that for that chap kuacha. Akaacha pombe hivi cold turkey. Achana na ile polepole, sijui tutaenda rehab nini. So meanwhile we need to negotiate with our childhood. Tujiongelesha manze. Kuna vitu mob zilifanyika ziko kuwa poa. Of course they mishandled us at one point, our parents, our elder siblings, but sasa we need to take that power back ndio tusiendelee kujisabotage. I can argue like this. Kama mtu yote alireziwa Kenya, huyo msee ako na child trauma. Kama ulireziwa Kenya na uko kwa group, uko tu na child trauma. Kwanza hiyo tukubali. Sasa alafu sasa tukishakubali tuanze kuangalia the extent ya hii trauma venye ilikuwa and how we can renegotiate it and how we can take this power back so that tusiendelee kulive kwa hiyo mode. Unapata itakuwa ni vizuri, lakini kila mtu hapa kama ulireziwa tu Kenya buda msee, uko na child trauma. So issue ni hiyo child trauma yako, how did it happen, what did it cause, behavior gani ilikuwa inakufanya unakuwa susceptible. Kuna watu wengine kama wewe ni firstborn mko hapa pia, ndio watu wengine pia wako na trauma. Watu wanahitaji 3 days ya holidays every year wapatiwe waende wapumzike. These and other people were very much affected na bado wako na mzigo zingine zinaendelea kuwapata. So please, we want you to assume that, let's assume that you are, take yourself as that best person who needs to be cared for. Tuanze hivyo. Huyu moto sasa unasimama kando unaangalia kwa mira, unasema huyu moto sasa, this is the, let me treat moto as the best friend to be cared for. Huyu pipi mwenye ako kwa mira ukimwangalia, let me treat him kwanza as the best person who needs to be taken care of. Huyu Ismail nikiangalia kwa mira, this year I'll stand for Ismail and let me treat myself as a person who deserves to be taken care of. Alafu tuangalie hizi trauma zenye zinakuja, impact yake kama tunaweza mitigate. Sometimes huwezi toa effect yote, sometimes unaweza tu mitigate. For example, chini niwaambie tu one of the simple example. Kuna kitu inaitwa poverty trauma. Next time unaenda kwa hoteli, angalia venye watu wanakula. Wakileta ugali, nyama na mboga, angalia venye watu wanakula. So unapata kuna msana kula ugali, mboga, alafu nyama ni ya mwisho anamalizia. Probably umse ana suffer from poverty trauma. Kwa sababu ukianza kukula inafaa ukule the best thing. Ndio hata ukishiba, hizo vitu zingine zinabaki zinarudishwa kwa jikoni. Lakini mtu mwenye anaacha nyama tu ya mwisho, mtu ni mtu ana suffer from poverty trauma. Alafu angalia mtu wakimwekea vegetable mingi, kama tamaliza. Saa zingine ulikuwa unapata mboga itoshi, sasa ilikuwa expert ni mwenye anaweza kula ugali na mboga kidogo mpaka asindikize. So ukiona mtu ukimwekea mboga mingi hata huwa amalizi, kwa sababu ako condition na ile when he was growing up ilikuwa inabidi utumie mboga kiasi. So sasa hata kama kuna plenty inakuwa ni shida. Kitu ingine hiyo na millennials wame overcome, but wazazi wa millennials waji overcome. Unapata kuna mtu ukimpeleka hoteli umnunulie dish ya 4K, hii chakula ni expensive, afadhali tungenunua hii kitu tuende tupike home. Sometimes it can be your spouse, sometimes it can be your girlfriend. Elewa sana suffer from childhood trauma. Unataka kumtreat lakini yeye anaona ni nini? Anaona hiyo kitu ni kama una waste pesa. So jua penye hii trauma inatoka, ni na financial implication ama ni ya growth ama ni ya relationship. Kuna mtu mwingine hata present ajepatiwa present. Asa ukimpatia present anaanza kukuwa suspicious. Ama hivi, kuna jamaa kwa na baba, one is an alcoholic father. So the father comes, abuses the kid. Then after abusing the kid and the kid ako depressed, goes and purchase some present kumpatia so that at least compensate. Then after that tena siku ingine anarudi amelewa, anampiga na muabuse. Sasa ujamaa ukimpatia akionanga tu gift anakuwa suspicious, because from the upbringing there's usually a gift, an abuse, then a gift, then interspaced with another abuse, then a gift. So wewe unapelekea mrembo wako gift na ako na trepidation, ako na ameshtuka, ako suspicious, angalia kwani ni noma gani nakuja? Ni kwa sababu yeye venye alizoeleshwa gift ilikuwa inakuja after abuse, na after gift tena kulikuwa na another abuse inakuja. So we can have good things but people overreact. Unashanga wewe kwani nyinyi ni mawapi? Ni kwa sababu gani? ya hiyo maneno. Kitu ingine another example, unapata msichana anakuuliza, we mbona huo uzushi, mbona huo unipigi buda? Kwa hudi yao wasi walikuwa napigana, so kwa hiyo nyumba kulikuwa na ukizubazuba hivi umegongwa msee, kuna maheka fujo. So kwa hiyo hood boyfriend inafaa kuwe strong, achape dem kofi moja, so dem anajua boy wangu ni strong, atani protect. So akikuja apate pipi ni mse mpenda amani, anasema manzi mse ako very cool, too cool, ako too gentle, hata ana vibe, hata sisikii vibe ya jamaa, vibe yake ni vita. Sasa wewe kwenu hakuna vita, I feel hizo vibe. So hizi stories zinakuanga ni trauma, na tumelelewa kwa hiyo trauma, acclimatize, tumezoea hiyo trauma na hizo heka. Tukikuja kwa peaceful hood, we don't feel the vibes, tunataka vibes za hood za vita. Ndio hizi stories za alcohol zenye pia tunaongea msee, hizi heka za ulevi, kukimbia kwa alcohol, kujificha, kujinamb. So lazima tuangalie, lazima tukae with ourselves, tuangalie tukikuwa na shida, tukikuwa na anxiety, can we pass through that phase, that week of anxiety without imbibing something? Na sisi wote tunapitia anxiety manze, na mimi in life nimepitia kwanza 2 phase za anxiety na zilinitesa sana, but they were spanning, kama moja ilikuwa ni kama 1 week na ingine ilikuwa ni kama like 3 weeks to 1 month. Manze zinakutesa mzee, ile yenye unaamka ni kama like unaamka like uko in panic mode, you need to do something. So hizi vitu zinakuwa, lakini wase, let's learn some better coping modes, including taking long walks. Unatoka unaisha, unatembea mtaa, unazunguka, you see the green environment, ukinapiga 10-12 kilometers, unarudi umechoka kama dogi, una doze. Asante.
Hapo kwa
Yo,
Ismail,
DK.
hapo kwa nani, Ismail amenigusa sana hapo kwa unyama. Hadi wa leo mi nakulanga nyama na nabakisha ya mwisho.
Peter,
Hiyo piece ya mwisho is very important.
something to say.
Hata mtu
DK,
wangu, hiyo mtu akakula nyama yangu hiyo naweza muacha. But thank you so much for pointing it out. Kumbe ni poverty na nisumbua.
wewe ni shida inakusumbua, ni shida tu inakusumbua, but utakuwa sawa. Let me tell you. Okay, so like back to DK, do not you, okay, like actually back to anxiety. Let me tell you something. I I I I haven't slept in my bed for the last 2 weeks because mwingia bed hivi nasikia anxiety. But then silali, I think too much. Like I think so much. Yeah, nishtua. So actually the last 2 weeks I've been sleeping on my seat. Very comfortable one though. Yeah, but I've been sleeping on my seat just because I feel, actually sikujua kuna kitu kama anxiety. I have learned juzi kuna kitu kama hiyo. I didn't know I didn't know this anxiety. Like as in it is something. It's I don't know what it is. Either it's a sickness or something. But I didn't know there's something called anxiety until 2 weeks ago. Naingia bed, siwezi lala, but kwa kiti yangu nalala vizuri sana. With cartoons playing, I sleep very well. Yeah.
Asante for that. I see Motomoto. I know DK is going to be joining us in a few. I want to hear from Alejandro and Malia before I give the mic to DK to take us all the way to 7:30. All right. Motomoto, 1 minute rebuttal before I go to Alejandro first, then Motomoto. Alejandro, what's up?
No, I just wanted to suggest, could you let Malia speak first? I think she was there before me, so let her go first. I'll
okay,
go
you are here first,
okay.
but okay. Let's go, Malia. How are you doing, Malia? Hey, let me pata.
I'm good. I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm good. From today, I'll just be calling you Davy.
Yeah, that's okay. So this is a topic that has really affected me. I lost someone to suicide. someone who was very close to me. He was an alcoholic. Before he committed suicide, he used to call me when he's very happy and abnormally happy. So I'm like, hey, and this guy is busy akona a lot of happiness, and then like a lot of reminiscing, a lot of, like reminiscing about the good times in the past and all that. But sasa me, I didn't shikanisha that kumbe the guy was planning to kill himself. So that's why he was happy. That those people who want to commit suicide, just before they commit suicide, they feel happy. They feel at least now their suffering is about to end. He was an orphan. He had been struggling with alcoholism since he was a teenager, like 13 years old, due to childhood trauma. His parents divorced, and then his mom passed on, and he was not even in the funeral. He just came home after when schools closed and found they've already buried his mother. Then his dad fell ill, and from there he was just drinking since he was 13 until he was about 30 that time. So like serious drinking, not drinking, casual, social drinking. That drinking of you in the morning, you have to be having alcohol in the house, like the way mtu nakulanga breakfast. So it was very difficult for me because I was like, why instead of
Have we lost Malia or it's me? When
Yes,
DK?
we have.
you can't hear me? You can't hear me?
Now you're back. Now you're back.
You're back.
Now you're
You're back.
back.
Okay, so I was telling you that I was affected by suicide, by somebody who was close to me who committed suicide. And right before he committed suicide, he was very happy. Okay, later on, after the suicide happened and I was going through grieving, when you're grieving someone who's committed suicide, it's difficult. It's very difficult because number one, people don't want to talk about, like, if there's something people don't want to hear about or talk about, it's suicide. Like, you'd rather come and tell me your loved one died of an accident. That one I can listen to you. But once you bring the topic of suicide, like, there's so much stigma attached to it. So you don't even have someone to talk to. You're just by yourself. When you try to bring the topic, people are like, they want to change the topic as quick as possible, especially like in our African context. Suicide has a lot of stigma to the extent that some people won't even go for your funeral if you commit suicide. Some pastors will not even bury you, will not even agree to bury you if you're in their church and you commit suicide. So it has a lot of stigma. That's something which most people don't talk about. But me as a survivor, as someone who went through that trauma, it was so hard for me because I didn't have anyone to talk to. If I try talking to someone about it, they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to hear about it. It's like, oh my God, like what do you want to talk about? This is like so horrible. But it took me a long time, by the way, to get over it because I felt guilty. I felt angry. I was like, is there something I could have done to stop it? So it took me very long to get over it. And sometimes I would get over it or think I've gotten over it. Then if something reminds me of the person, I start again grieving all over again. So it took me years, by the way, to overcome that. It's very difficult to grieve when someone has committed suicide. Alcoholism, it's I'll not blame people and say that, it's their fault, they became alcoholics and all this. Particularly men use alcohol to cope with stress. Women do too, but mostly men, because like the person I'm talking about, he started drinking when he was 13 after his mother died, and the parents broke up and his dad also died. So that's when he started now drinking heavily when he was 13 years old. So the majority of his life, he was an alcoholic, like a serious alcoholic, not at your casual, not social drinking, an alcoholic, like you have to drink to, even when you wake up in the morning, you drink like that. But you see, the problem with alcohol makes you to be depressed. That's what people don't understand. When you take it, immediately you take it because even me, I've had situations where I'm going through a rough time. Then I'm like, let me drink. I'll feel better. What happens is when you drink, like if you're drinking, you have a problem and you're drinking this evening, fine. It'll make you feel a bit better. Then you'll go and sleep. And even when you sleep, when you're drinking, after you've drank alcohol, it interferes with your sleep. You don't sleep well. You can't get quality sleep when you've been drinking. Then in the morning, when you wake up, you have a hangover, and you're having a hangover because it's a withdrawal symptom. Your blood alcohol levels were high. Then when you slept, they went down. That's why in the morning when people fungua lock, now the alcohol levels come back so your body doesn't feel the withdrawal symptoms. So now from there, you feel depressed, you feel worse. So the problem that was making you drink is still there. You're now having, on top of that, you're having withdrawal symptoms. You're feeling bad. You're feeling sick. You're feeling depressed. So, in fact, a very high majority of people who commit suicide are actually people who use alcohol. And what I can say is that sometimes we go through some things which are really difficult, but I want us to normalize seeking help. Like I saw somebody saying that I can't go to a psychiatrist because they might medicate me and all that. They might put me, forcefully admit me or whatever. But there are drugs you can be given which can help you with depression, which can help you with anxiety, which you can take if you're not able to sleep at night. You take them before you sleep, and then they help you sleep good sleep. Because if you're not sleeping well, there is no way your mental health will be good. Let me tell you for free. You will not have good mental health. And ask anybody who has had mental issues, like maybe panic attacks or having a nervous breakdown. One of the main things is that they don't get good sleep. They don't get 8 hours of sleep, and they don't get quality sleep. If maybe, if you're sleeping because of alcohol will not allow you to get quality sleep. You'll be like you've blacked out, but it's not good sleep. So the next day when you wake up, uko na deficit ya sleep. Unaona? So you're tired, you're exhausted, your body is not coping well. You've not gotten the rest, and then you can't think clearly. When you're tired, when your brain is tired, you're not getting rest, you can't think clearly. Everything seems to be a catastrophe. Even small things looks to be such a big deal. So what I can advise, guys, there is nothing wrong with getting medication for sleep. There is nothing wrong with getting medication for anxiety, for depression, because people do go through these things. Because, for example, now like the person I'm talking about, they went through a lot of trauma. Where were they supposed to get the support? If they're not, maybe they're not having a support system in the family, they don't have someone to talk to, they have to take medication. So you can take the medication when you're going through depression. Don't take alcohol. Alcohol will only dig you deeper now into depression. Go and see a doctor, get medication for your depression, get medication for your anxiety, get prescribed medication for your sleep, so that you can sleep properly and you sleep well for 8 hours. And the next day you'll feel very different, as opposed to umekuwa the whole night, you are up, smoking weed, chewing miraa, and all these kind of escapes that we normally have. The second aspect of suicide is that it's spiritual. There's someone here who said that it's spiritual. Myself, when I was in campus, I fell into depression and I became suicidal. And it was after a breakup, after a relationship, like my first love relationship broke up. So I went into depression. I was suicidal. I used to think about killing myself all the time. I couldn't concentrate in class. And it was not only me. I saw other ladies. That's the age which during our time people were starting to have their first relationship. So when the relationship doesn't work out, even men, they used to have those problems where they want to commit suicide because the relationship has failed and this is your first love. So I asked my friends, because I am a believer, and I asked my friends, can they help me to pray because I'm feeling suicidal? And I had gone to pastors, but they were not very helpful. But I talked to my other Christian friends, students too. And I just told them, I'm feeling like one of these days I'm just going to kill myself and you'll just find me and I'm dead. So I'm asking for help. It's a cry for help. You guys help me to pray because I don't know now what to do. By then, I was not thinking of counseling or whatnot. Maybe that wasn't even, as I'm telling you, when you're depressed, you're not thinking clearly. You can't think, I can go and talk to someone about this, or I can go and get medication. by then there was even, I don't know whether those things of medication were even there, but when they prayed for me, I felt, it was like a spirit which was on my stomach. I used to feel a heavy thing on my weight on my stomach. I remember after we prayed together, the next morning when I woke up, that heavy feeling on my stomach had lifted, had gone, and I was okay. And I prayed and I told God, I'm making a covenant with you that I will never be in this place whereby I'm suicidal again, no matter how bad things get in my life. And I have to thank God. I've been in depression. I've gone through difficult situations, but I've never gotten to that point whereby I'm fighting with the spirit of suicide. Like every day, I'm struggling not to kill myself. It has not gotten there. So spiritual help also helps a lot. Medication helps. Alcohol is the worst thing. And other drugs, by the way, even akina mira, akina bangi, whatnot, don't use any drugs when you are recreational drugs, when you are depressed. Seek the prescription drugs, take them, get you enough sleep, eat well, your mind will clear, because what happens is that your mind is having a problem, yeah, which has been brought on maybe by heartbreak or by some trauma. You've lost money, you've lost a job, you've lost a spouse, you've lost a child. So you have to take care of yourself kama mtu mwenye ako mgonjwa. Okay, if you are sick, if you are in an accident, you'll take care of yourself. You'll not be like, now let me drink. No, mental illness is just like any other illness, physical illness. So you need to be taken care of. You need to take care of yourself the way you would be taken care of if you are in an accident. It's still trauma. So I think that's my contribution for today. Thanks, Mr. Pipita.
Thank you for that submission. Very hearty.
Pipi,
Yes.
I really want to
Ngoja
know
word
what.
major bana,
No,
ngoja. Kuna co-host kwa show. Mute
Ngoja.
bwana. Kuna co-host kwa show aitwa DK. Yeah, mute. Kuna co-host aitwa DK. Ngoja kwanza tupange kazi. Now, I want to just let the mic flow around first, bwana Ward. Na unaona hapa ukitaka kuingia unaweka mkono juu. We have to introduce that. So you just don't jump into the mic so that you don't stop my chain of thought.
I'm doing.
Okay, so I was saying, yeah, Malia, thank you for your submission. Especially umekuwa very candid. Your party ya lose a member or a person that is so dear. And you ask yourself a lot of questions. And right now, from what Ismail has spoken, Ward has spoken, and Malia, I'm seeing a pattern about alcohol and suicide. That is something that we need also to talk about, the relation between alcohol and suicide, because in 2021 I lost a friend to alcohol, and he actually alcohol induced suicide, where he lost his family. I don't know because of what, but then again he got into heavy drinking, and of course at the end of it took his own life. So we also, when we talk about alcohol and suicide, we also need to talk about it as well. Let us not also look like we're not considerate enough. Now, I have Alejandro who had gracefully let Amalia speak, but that after Amalia, after Alejandro, we'll get Motomoto, Word Major, your rebuttal, and then I'll get DK Give to take over the mic. Alejandro.
Hi, good evening, guys. How are you?
We good, and you?
We're good. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you. I only started listening when I think Wood Major was talking. I've listened to everyone, and I believe what you're talking about today is actually very close to people's hearts, and they don't actually talk about it. What I'd like to tell the young gentleman is this. I think the reason why he feels alone, he mentioned something about us being the only ones who he's told about his, I'll call it a predicament. I won't even call it a problem, and I'll tell you why. He hasn't told his spouse that, or his girlfriend that. I'd say it's due to the fear of judgment, and this judgment somehow, before we even think about that, I think we judge ourselves worse than the people who actually look at us. So when I say that, I mean he feels like he's protecting her from his situation. So he will not tell her what he's going through. But I mean, I was in a space earlier, and I said that when men go to the barber shop, they will not cheat on their barbers. They will actually could cheat on their girlfriends, but not the person who cuts their hair. Now, the barber will not judge you for your whatever you did. You took your shots, blah blah blah. They won't judge you. They will listen, and when they cut your hair and all that, you'll come back the following day, or I mean, the following week, or 2 weeks after, for fresh updates of your life. While you're doing that, there's an exchange because you've got a listener who doesn't judge. And when you start talking, you know for sure there's no judgment. He will not judge you for that. So, Mr. Major, I would say there's nothing wrong with if you feel in your heart that you would feel better by telling your spouse. The first thing to do is be friends with her. You need to. I mean, you don't need to. If you could take this as some advice, change the scenery. Perhaps just go for a walk and tell her this is what you would need to speak to her about, and perhaps that's what she needs to hear. Because what this will lead you to doing, it'll lead you to being withdrawn, and you will fall to the bottle. And the thing is, with the nature of alcoholism, or let me call it the situation, is you start holding the bottles on the outside with one hand. And over time, as you know, you end up falling inside the bottle. And it's that boiler frog analogy where slowly by slowly, you will not feel that temperature rising. You can't feel it. It'll get so comfortable. You start feeling like all your muscles are relaxed and all that. And by the time you wake up, you are a former. You're a former. You're a shadow of yourself. So don't feel guilty. Don't feel judged. I know that's what prevents you from speaking about this. You need to go easy on yourself. And there's one other thing about something that you said, and I really felt like that came from the bottom of your heart. You said, yeah, it's not easy, yes, and one day you know it's going to kill you. There's something about having a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you say that, your subconscious mind doesn't know whether you're joking or not. So everything will be geared up towards one day you'll come to an end, to a premature end. You need to change the language that you tell yourself. You need to change how you view yourself. Alcohol has a tendency of turning people into, when they look in the mirror, they don't look at themselves. They see failure. They see themselves as failure. You don't need to look at yourself as failure. You need to look at yourself as a human being, and you're part of this. Look, from what you said, you've changed lives just by talking. Now, had you not spoken, we'd be talking about something else. We'd be listening to Mr. Pipi just doing his jingles and stuff like that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying. So when you came in here and you started your it's going naked, you actually you strip naked without, you didn't know if you're going to be judged or not. There is no right, there is no wrong. The thing that you've done now is you have opened up. You're right for opening up your weaknesses. You said about when you're growing up, you were blamed for things that were happening at home and all that. And then you were the scapegoat. The blame was always on you, and you learned to keep quiet. I think it's never the wrong time to speak up. You've identified what the problems were. Now the journey starts from what you have realized. We tend to go to hospital when you're not feeling well, but right now you know what the problem is. Start addressing that. Yes, it is childhood trauma. Some of it is adulthood trauma. I mean, being in Africa, or let me say, right now, anywhere in the world, it's like a Survivor series. Every day, you need to survive. You need to smile at the people that you normally smile to. You need to receive. They need to reciprocate with the smiles. It's tough. It's tough, yes. people say, I'm going through a lot of stuff, but the thing is, you are going through it. You're not getting stuck in it. It's not like a silicone pack where you get stuck in the problem. Do these spaces more, Mr. Pipita and Mr. DK. Let's talk about this more. This is the only avenue that probably people have when it comes to talking about the problems. So open these avenues. Yes, we might have some humor, some satire, some, little bits of banter here and there. But this is very important. There is no judgment, and for you, this is just for you, Mr. Major. At the end of the day, just remember this: at the end of the day will still end. So every day start afresh. Don't turn to the bottle. If you're more comfortable sitting on your chair and you feel comfortable there, then do that. Every day is a new day. Every day ends. A new one starts. This now I'll address what Mr. Ismail said. Normally when I listen to him, I notice that he mixes satire and humor, and there's a lot of seriousness in that. He mentioned something about not sleeping. This is something that they call rapid eye movement, REM, and we all need it. But society nowadays is so tough that, when you sleep doesn't necessarily mean quality sleep. Closing your eyes till morning doesn't mean that you've slept, you've rested and all that. REM has to be there. You need around 4 or 5 hours of where your eyes move and they move and they move. It helps you rest. It helps your brain refocus and regenerate, if I can put it that way. Pressures of life nowadays don't let that happen. We don't get that. We're always thinking about the day, how awful the day was. It's called recapitulation. So before you sleep and you recapitulate your day, you spent hours trying to relive the day. So when you're sleeping, you start reliving your horrible day. And that will take you into the alcohol. Now, this is where it comes in. There's something common that you've all talked about. There's something spiritual about, there's a link between alcoholism and the spiritual side. If you all don't know, alcohol is actually alcohol, the term itself is alcohol. It's a body-eating spirit. Not my words. It's, none of you know how old I am. So I know a little bit about these things. It's there to, it takes over and it starts slowly. It starts very slowly. It starts eating you up. People say, when I drink gin, I'm a different animal. When I drink a Johnny Walker, like whatever, that double blue or green, they're different animals. Some people say that gin makes them emotional. It's when you're drinking the alcohol, the spiritual element is also very active. It's so active, but people don't know that. They don't know that. So yes, there's a lot of something spiritual in the alcohol, which the alcohol, all it does, again, what it does on the physical side is it heightens your dopamine levels. It's all unnatural. So you get some gratification without working hard for it. So it comes to you and you're happy, you feel like you're jolly and all that. No. It's all artificial. At the end of it, your brain stops producing dopamine because it's already getting it from some other source. When you decide that you'll drop the alcohol, what happens is the dopamine levels are so low, it takes around 14 months for them to get back to where they were. Now, this is a stage where people start going into, withdrawal symptoms. They get moody and all that. People don't understand. And the person who's somehow decided to go cold turkey on the alcohol, they start thinking, people are they're not listening to me. I've done this great thing. I've stopped the alcohol and all that. What happens is it brings those suicidal thoughts because it's escapism and it's one shot and you're done. We don't hear about the failed suicide attempts because what people, there was in the West, people used to say, oh yeah, they tried suicide and they're so bad at doing things they didn't even manage to take their own lives. Turns into humor, but there's a lot of seriousness in that. So guys, the lady who spoke, Malia, something about your friend. He was always like jolly, calling you and reminiscing and all that. The reason why people who choose that option of flipping the switch and turning off is because they want to leave you with the best memories. You need to have the best memories of them. And by you saying that, I mean, I'm sure it was the most traumatic thing that you went through. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, that really took me somewhere I didn't go to. The reason why they do that is, like you said, when you start telling us about your friend, you remember that he was always jolly, happy, and all that. Actually, what he did, he. What I'm saying is, it proves what he was achieving. He was trying to achieve. That's what you remember. The good side of what he used to do. So, guys, we talk about politics, we talk about relationships, we talk about this. If we have people to talk to, more importantly, if we have people who listen without judgment, I think we'll go a long way. It's known that the tables have turned. It's a men who actually do this, who are more into alcoholism. I'll call it that. It's not, I don't want to call it that at all. It's who fall into this situation more than the women, because men do not talk about it because they do not want to appear weak and things like that. So this is actually a very safe space. I believe.
One minute, Alejandro, so that we can get more speakers.
Actually, I'll be fair. I'll leave it where it's at. Thank you guys for listening. But remember, with all this, it takes something to get something. Alcohol takes you to get your everything. So remember, it takes something to get something. Alcohol takes it all. So yeah, guys, be blessed and thank you for listening.
All right. Thank you so much, Alejandro, for that. You can hang around and of course, when there is an opportunity as well, I'd appreciate to hear more from you as well. I see Motomoto is in the building. Motomoto, talk to us as I take it to the guy like DK.
Hey, Alejandro. Okay. Yeah, you've left me like thinking and saying, oh my God, did I really think that we're going to get to these discussions? And first and foremost, Papita, thank you for hosting this, because this year, many will be impacted with what's going on around the world, where we have the Great Awakening. And that's exactly what's going on right now in Kenya, where we are going to fall into that crisis. So at least if we educate ourselves and know what to expect, we will kind of start working on ourselves internally so that we can complete this journey successfully. The guy who had opened up to us talked about, I guess I wanted to tell him that I don't know which country he is in, but I know rehab does help. If you guys have rehab facilities, I'm not sure about Kenya. I don't think Kenya has reached that point, but in America, we do have places where people check themselves into a rehab where, you're with a group of people and it does help you. I'm not sure when Kenyans will realize that everything is spiritual, meaning things manifest in the spiritual realm before it gets to the physical. So the way you are saying that you're not able to sleep, one practice that I've adopted too is at least reading the scriptures that help to fight spiritual warfare, which is Psalms 91 and Psalms 23, if you read it aloud. Personally, I never knew that prayers are voice activated. You can see how naive I was. Before my mother died, my mom would pray for us. She would wake up in the morning at 3, pray, pray, pray. And guess what? After she died, that went away. My family split and, all that kind of stuff. So I had to go through that journey of self-discovery where I found myself and, with my spirituality, and to the point where now I understood everything that was going on in my life and based on my journey. So if we make it a practice also to pray every morning and evening, and also to teach your kids, it goes a mile extra, because those dark forces are really working overtime this year. If people were to sit down and tell you the things that they are going through, or the things that they have seen, you'll be surprised, especially some of us who are, kind of on the finish line where we are going through a hero's journey. It's been an interesting one that no one would ever believe you. But bear in mind that the fact that you have started this journey of just opening up to us, the enemy is not going to let you go. So you must fight that battle, because at the end of the day, he doesn't want you to get your gift. And your gift is what you've been called upon to do. It's what you're talented to do. So when you think about that and how the enemy attacks us in our lives, then you'll be on defense mode, where you're kind of working like you're pretty much in the military. That's how I operate. And it's not in a bad way, but the battle is on the mind. Just keep reminding yourself and tap into people. These spaces will always help. I'm sure more people will come and also kind of share their stories, and you'll be like, oh my God, I'm way better off. But you have made the biggest step of actually speaking in the open, something that many Kenyans don't do. So for that, God bless and keep the fight. That's all I have.
Thank you for that, Motomoto. DK Gift, let me play the jingle to you so that I don't have to come back to the mic at the top of the hour as you take it over.
You are listening to Home Run with Pippi. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Asanteni sana kwa kutuni kwenye Home Run Pipi, mabibi na mabwana. Always come to you weekdays kama kawaida. Tomorrow we'll be back here again at 4 p.m. Make sure you come over and listen to us. I might have special guests in studio as well, so watch out for that. Of course, kama kawaida, na ningependa kuwakumbusha kwamba Home Run Pipi is supported by you the listener. Pale hivi kwenye tip jar, ukiona unapenda kazi yetu, there is a number 0721948229 to support. Kwa sasa tuko katika 0.00, lakini wewe unaweza iongeza pale hivi na 50 bob, 100 bob pale hivi kusupport show yetu. Now I see DK Gift, our co-host, who is recently joined us. Niaje DK? This is your chance. You had a story for us, and of course, you're going to run the mic around as we continue now from here on. And also like to point out on the Jumbotron, there is resources where you can call 24 hours for counseling shared by Joy Lee. Just check out on the Jumbotron, and you'll get out how to contact them. Now, DK, tell us your story, bro.
All right, asante sana Pipi, and thank you for everyone who has put on their sentiments to this topic, both those who have either experienced it from third parties, family, friends. First, I want to appreciate each one of you for just sharing what you have shared. This topic, as you can evidently see by how many of us are on the mic since we started at 4, this is a conversation that we as Africans have, and I say this without fear of contradiction. We sometimes, I feel like we deliberately do not want to appreciate and accept that this is in our society. Point blank. We want to live. In fact, Joy Lee said it very well. The number of times I've heard people call this, and pardon my French, white man shit, it's too many times. And we want to live as though it is not something that is eating up our own society, our own young people, young men, young women, and even the older ones. And listening to Ward, and I really hope he's still in the listeners panel. Listening to Ward just took me back to a bunch of things that I went through. Before I share my story, I want to first say, anxiety is very real. Anxiety attacks are very real. People think that these things are things that ati wale watu hupitia anapitiaga in teenagehood and teenage life, I've even had some people say anxiety, and pardon me, ladies who are here, but I've had people say anxiety ni mashida za madem zinapataga akiwa teenage. I've had all of that, but anxiety is real. I only came to know this when I was 30 years old, but I have suffered anxiety attacks and panic attacks since I was 13 years old. That's how long I struggled with anxiety attacks and panic attacks. And when I was younger, I had no clue, absolutely no clue what I was going through. I never understood what is this when I'm in certain situations, what is this tight feeling that I get all over my chest and I can barely breathe and I can barely, almost even my vision is almost running away. I can barely breathe, speak, or even think straight for minutes. And I fold myself and I sometimes Maka used to ask myself, Kone, am I getting a heart attack at the age of 16? And it's only when I grew up, when I was much older and I had to face this thing head on, that I came to understand what it is I was going through all through the years. And there's someone who said here, and another Nigerian has made a joke about it, that if you've grown up in an African home, if you've grown up in a proper African home in the 80s, in the 90s, some even from the 70s, 90% of us, if not all, have suffered a certain significance of childhood trauma that has a lot of us walking in our present adult life as walking corpses, because we are dealing with things that even in our adult life we are now, it is when we are trying to understand ourselves, understand what is going on, what is this I've been dealing with, what are all these feelings, what are all these emotions, what are all these thoughts all about. And it is only now that we start that you start seeing it. My story is one that, if you listened to us last week, I think last week on Thursday, we were talking about during the health and wellness. We spoke about parenting, and I shared, for anyone who was there at that time, I shared my own experience as far as bullying is concerned, while we were talking about parenting. And bullying that happened to me ever since I was a teenager, all throughout, was one of the first things that I only came to address when I was 29 years old. The second thing, and I'll break them down, but I will not go into the bullying too much because I don't want to repeat myself too much. But I went through bullying because while in high school, I was small, I was thin, I was a very small boy, very slim. Well, I'm still very skinny till today. I was way small, really, really small. I only shoot up to 5'9" when I was after I passed after Form 4. I think 1 year after Form 4 is when I went to like 5'6" or 7, and then 5'9". And then I went through trauma as far as I went through bedwetting when I was still a teenager, and I dealt with bedwetting even when I was in high school. Went through it until I was like 15, if not 16 years old. I don't even remember how it stopped. I just know it stopped when I was Form 2, Form 3. Now I went to a boarding school, so I went through a lot of being picked on. If I took care of myself and took my things out to dry, I'm going to be made fun of. If I don't take my things out and they don't dry and the whole dorm is smelling, I'll be made fun of. And all these things never stopped in the dorm. They went to the classrooms. I went to a boarding mixed school. There were ladies. All these discussions and stories, some even crossed to the girls. When I was in Form 2, I had a girlfriend in the same school. Couldn't even keep the girlfriend for more than 2 months. Why? Because the stories got to her. And so on and so forth. So I went through name calling until I was Form 4. Name calling as far as, even after leaving the bedwetting, it just went on and on. The second thing that I went through is a very broken relationship between myself and my parents, and more so my father. If you heard me talking to Major, I spoke about growing up in a house where I watched alcohol destroy what my father held dearest to him, whether it is his own life, his marriage, or even his family. Now, when I was much younger in the 90s, I'm born in the late 80s. And so in the 90s, for many of us here, we know it was normal. You'd see father would come home certain times, sometimes late, sometimes early, amakuja amekunywa yake kidogo, and it was just normal. Us as kids did not understand and did not know what this man was going through and what was happening and why he was drinking and all that and so forth. But as I grew on to get into high school, my dad stopped drinking in the year of 1998. In 1998, I think I was in about class 4 or 5. And though he quit drinking then, he had a relapse. I think after about 2 years, he had a relapse for, I'm not very sure, about a year or so. And then he now really quit completely. That was in about 2001 or 2002. And by this time, I was going into high school. So in my upper primary, I sort of saw the experience of what alcohol was doing here. I saw the wrangles between him and my mother. I saw it once or even twice turn physical. I saw how it had mother leave us sometimes and go, and you're not sure whether she'll come back, and so on and so forth. And I know some of these things, they're not very unique to me. There are probably others here who have gone through the same experiences because of alcohol. But the most key thing I want you guys to note is, as I went into my upper primary and into high school, I started growing a resentment towards the man. Because on one side, I would see what was happening between the two of them. Sometimes, and this is where sometimes some parents get it wrong. When I was in Form 1, 2, and 3, indirectly, I would see my mother discredit, and especially when he stopped drinking, his work was not doing good. My dad was a mechanic trying to work out his small business. He had lost 2 proper jobs